I feel like the church should be an extension of the community. The church should look like the community. If the church doesn't look like the community and doesn't serve the community, then the church isn't doing its job. And so that has kind of been a thought, a concept that has guided the way that I approach ministry, the way that I view ministry. And so we have really tried to look around the community and do things that meet needs in the area.
This is The Calling with Steve Smith, a Family Life original podcast that talks with pastors about the professional and personal challenges they face in their mission to lead others to Christ. Our guest for Episode 3 is Justin Coffin of Southern Tier Church of Christ in Elmira, New York.
Justin, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to get into this right away because you can't be alone in this situation. You're married to Sheena. You have 4 kids, and you're both heavily involved in the church. She with the praise team. How do you balance the life that you live in the church and out of the church, being parents? Again, you're not alone in that. How do you and Sheena balance that whole thing?
Well, sometimes I would say we're not balancing it. But it is a challenge. And there's, my oldest is 19. He's a second year college student. And then my youngest is 9. He's a 4th grader. And so we've also got a freshman and a senior in high school. And, this time of the year particularly is just absolutely nutso because I've got 2 in track, 1 in baseball. School's still going on, and then, church stuff. And, my life is pretty much church. I go to sleep thinking about church. I wake up thinking about church. And, so between, the Easter season, between small groups and, just different things, we're blessed right now in our church to just be experiencing, a lot of growth and a lot of exciting growth challenges. And so, my mind is more consumed with church stuff, I think, when we're in that. But, I've been told the entire time that I've been in ministry that your first ministry is to your family. And I've not always done a good job of that. I have the tendency to be a workaholic. And so Sheena's role has been grounding me in that and letting me know when, I seem to be tipping the scale too far. And so, we'll try to do some things, as a family. The church gives me some flexibility, and, has some trust in me as far as the work that I do. And so there's a lot of times that, I'm taking the kids to school. I'm the ones to drop them off. There's a lot of times that I pick them up. Most days she picks them up, but there's most days I drop them off. I rarely ever miss a school event. And part of that is just because of being involved in ministry, my schedule is a little bit more flexible. So, I'm that annoying dad that's at everything. And, it is a little bit odd to be a guy because unfortunately, there's not a lot of men that are that involved in their kids. So there's a lot of times that there's not a lot of men, and I am one of the ones there. And so it kind of sticks out to my kids. But, I think that they harass me about being the annoying dad, but I think that they like it too, the fact that I am there. But it's, every day, every week is a little bit different challenge, and you just try to not neglect and try to meet the needs. And like, I kind of joked around about it, but the truth is sometimes I don't know if I'm handling it well. I tell people, we're in the midst right now of figuring out whether I'm a good parent or not, because as my kids graduate high school and kind of start to go out on their own, all of my kids still live at home, including my college student. And so once they start kind of moving out and becoming their own people, we're going to figure out how well I equip them. And so, we'll find out. We try to balance that, but it's definitely a challenge. I think that managing things like screen time and electronics and the dangers of the internet and just the challenges that are presented, even owning a cell phone to children, are some of the things that we face on a regular basis. And we try, but like I say, the jury is still a little bit out on the job we're doing as parents. So
I think of, premarital counseling. I was wondering that if you and Sheena, and maybe in this question, it's termed like, what advice would you give up and coming people in the ministry that were going to be couples, that it's like, how much did you and Sheena talk about this before you got married? It's like, hey, this is what our life direction is and how we're going to handle this. And what advice would you give in those circles?
Well, I didn't get a lot of advice ahead of time. And I knew I was going to go in ministry before we got married. Mm-hmm. And I had specifically waited until I was married to go into full-time ministry. So my story is I made the commitment to preach when I was 14, and started training under the local evangelist when I was 15. I got involved in youth ministry. At 16, I was running a camp. By the time I was 19, a youth camp, and involved heavily in the local ministry. But I was not going to take full-time ministry until I was married, because I had seen some other guys that really was a struggle for them, and I didn't want to have to balance that. So anyway, we did talk a lot about it, but we didn't have a lot of advice. And so as far as my advice to people that are thinking about going into ministry, or, maybe in my situation where they feel a call to ministry, but they're not married yet. There are a lot of resources now. I've been married over 20 years, and there weren't as many resources for us as there are now. And there are a lot of resources, dealing with this specifically. And so I would encourage people to take advantage of those resources, pick the brains of people who have been there and done that. And, your marriage is an extension of your ministry, and your ministry is an extension of your marriage. And if you are struggling in your marriage, you are going to struggle in your ministry. And if you're struggling in your ministry, it is going to challenge your marriage. And so you have got to have that. And one of the things that we did wrong, that we learned the hard way, was we did not focus on ourselves. We had a child by year 3 of marriage. And so then in year 2 of marriage is when I started full-time ministry. And so it was probably year 10. I would have to go back and kind of think about it, but it was probably year 10, year 12 before we made a commitment every year to take time just for us and kind of have a getaway just with us. And so the last several years, we have made that commitment to doing something and getting away, just the two of us, usually around in the springtime. Our anniversary is in April, and her birthday's in January and mine's in December. So that spring, early winter time is kind of a sweet spot for us. And so we usually sometime between January and April, we're getting away for a little bit. And that has been just golden for us. And I really wish we would have figured it out earlier. But, ministries like Family Life, The Weekend to Remember, just taking the stereotype away from counseling, from asking for help, getting premarital counseling whenever you're struggling with something, going to somebody and asking for help, which can be difficult in ministry, because a lot of times people are coming to you for answers. And whenever you don't have answers for yourself, where do you turn? And living here in New York, Family Life and Gary Short, specifically for me, has been huge, because Gary has been a huge resource for me. I went through the healing journey with Gary and another group of pastors. I was one of the initial, when he started the pastors groups, I was a part of that first group, and it was life-changing for me. And those guys, we still talk and we still interact with each other, and it has become a huge resource just to have that support of other people in ministry, but people that are in ministry and not tied directly to my church, and to give me that ability to, when there's a struggle, talk to somebody and not feel threatened about it, and actually be able to get some help. And that experience helped me realize my need. And so I've got a team of people that are not connected to my church that I talk to on a regular basis. And even when there's not a struggle, but whenever I have a question about something, whenever there's something that I'm like, okay, I don't know, I've got an idea, but I don't have a good, solid answer for this. So I'm going to call a few people and bounce it off of them. And good things always come out of that. And so if I didn't have that experience, I probably wouldn't have that network of people, and then I wouldn't have that support system. And that has been, I would encourage any minister to have that specifically, but also to have that in your marriage. You've got to be able to have that to survive the onslaught of what is happening today.
We're talking with Justin Coffin of Southern Tier Church of Christ in Elmira, New York. And so do you like to be called Pastor Justin, or hey, you over there, the guy preaching? What do you like to be called?
Well, so that's a loaded question for me. And I'll tell you, so for me personally, my experiences growing up. So I grew up in the church. I grew up very conservative. I'm born and raised in Oklahoma, kind of the middle of the Bible Belt. And so for me, my experience, some of the people in the community that I grew up in, the preachers didn't have the greatest reputation. Part of that, I think, was twofold. And some of this is probably my perception, because you know how whenever you're a child, sometimes your perception is a little different than reality. But anyway, they just always felt like they were better than us. And then they would mess up and everybody would be devastated because they had kind of put them on a pedestal. I think that ministry is a high calling, but the reality is ministers are human just like everybody else. And, we put our pants on one leg at a time, as they say. So I have worked really hard to not position myself where I am viewed differently. I don't think God hears my prayers any more than anybody else because I'm a preacher. I don't have a special hotline to God because I, am in the ministry. That just goes against, specifically Hebrews and everything that it talks about with Jesus being our high priest, and we have access to him. Everybody has the same access. Now, if I have a greater commitment to prayer, a greater commitment to study, there may be some insights or things that I have that others don't, that haven't spent the time. But even that is not specifically because I'm a preacher. It's just because of the time that I've spent in prayer and study. So I don't really like titles. I don't like, for specifically reverend. I think there's some scriptures in the Bible that discourage that and kind of that separation. But my view is that, I use the title evangelist and really it's not even a title. It's more of an office. I feel like I have been called to be an evangelist. I was ordained as an evangelist, and that wasn't to put a title before or after my name. That was to show the job that I'm doing. And so I would liken it to, if you're a firefighter, we don't call you Firefighter Joe, or if you're a plumber, we don't call you Plumber Joe. We just call you Joe, and you're a plumber. And so I feel like I'm Justin and I'm an evangelist. It's not that I am Evangelist Justin or Justin Evangelist. That is just a description of the office that I hold, the job that I do. So, whether you've got the office of an elder or you've got the office of a deacon or pastor, whichever term you like to use, that's my view. And so I encourage people to just call me Justin. I mean, if you want to call me Mr. Justin, that's fine. But I'm not a big title guy. I don't really look down on anybody that wants to use that. I've seen churches where, they instruct their people to, call everybody Pastor Justin and Pastor this. And I'm not going to condemn anybody for that. Just for me personally, I like connecting with people and not really, I don't like being put on a pedestal. I know my flaws better than anybody. And I'm going to strive to not expose those and to not let people down. But at the same time, I do know that I'm human. And if you're around me long enough, you're going to probably be disappointed at some point in my humanity. So I'd rather not set more barriers up for myself. So that's my feeling. And I'm probably a little bit odd in that, but that's how I feel about people calling me pastor or evangelist or whatever.
All right. Talking with Justin Coffin, and this is me saying this. This is not Justin saying this. It's not lost on me that your initials are JC. Okay, that was just me. That was just me saying that. That was me.
I have had people Justin. Notice that before.
Yeah. The Southern Tier Church of Christ in Elmira, talking with Justin Coffin. Let's talk about your church a little bit. Down in Elmira, you said you came from Oklahoma, the Bible Belt, where when I lived in Oklahoma, I used to describe to people, it's like, man, when I lived in Oklahoma, there was like a amazing church on every street corner. Exaggeration, but that's kind of the way it is. Elmira
sometimes two churches on every street.
Exactly. No, they're everywhere. And then you come to Elmira, New York, where that is not the case. Tell us how you do outreach in your church to reach the people of Elmira and the surrounding area.
Before I had moved here, I was at a conference and I heard a preacher one time. He said, if your church was to close its doors, would the community around you weep, or would they even notice? And that has been something that kind of wrecked my ministry because, and I say wrecked in a good way, because I feel like the church should be an extension of the community. The church should look like the community. If the church doesn't look like the community and doesn't serve the community, then the church isn't doing its job. And so that has kind of been a thought, a concept that has guided the way that I approach ministry, the way that I view ministry. And so we have really tried to look around the community and do things that meet needs in the area. And so one of our biggest outreaches is what we call our Harvest Festival. And it's a time, it's usually the first Saturday in November, where we are blessed with a lot of property. We own a good chunk of a city block here. And so we've got a lot of grass, a lot of land. And so we bring food trucks in. We have a lot of yard games, just like pumpkin bowling and football toss. And we've had the last couple of years, we've had a pretty good size petting zoo. Last year, we were able to have somebody bring a horse, and we offered horse rides. We've done hay rides and just a lot of fun family things. I have a big photo booth where a professional photographer comes in and takes pictures of people. Different things for the kids, kind of a cakewalk thing, except for it wasn't cake, it was pumpkins. And, they were giving away different treats and, having music playing and kind of a DJ and, just different things, just having a lot of fun. But as a part of that, so all of that stuff's going on outside. Inside, the building is full of clothes. People have donated clothes, and tables fill up the sanctuary. And people can just go in there and shop for free. I mean, they just, you have a need, you have something, and you can go and get whatever it is you need. And we've kind of been intentional with the fact that all of that stuff is inside, because, sometimes it's hard to ask for help. And sometimes it's hard to say, okay, I need clothes, or I need this, or I need that. And so that happens within the safety of the building. You're not out in front of everybody, shopping. You're inside while everybody's outside having fun. We give opportunities for people to pray, to give us prayer requests for us to pray. There's people within the church that are walking around trying to just say hi to people. meet needs. We're kind of keeping an eye out for people that could use a blessing and just giving them vouchers that they can go redeem at the food trucks. So just making it a time where, number one, we're trying to get families out, because one of the struggles that I see is young people today, and even parents for that matter, but they're glued to electronic devices, and they don't get out and do anything as a family. And so we want to give people a free, fun place to go spend the day as a family. There's something for everybody. There's activities for all age levels. There's food, there's fun, there's things as far as, whether you're getting toys, whether you're getting pictures taken, whether you're getting clothes, whatever, there's different needs that can be met, and just do something as a family, but also have some fun and do it for free. And we have been able to partner with the school districts in this area, and they have seen the value of it too. And so they let us send flyers home in the Wednesday folders or the communication folders, depending upon which school district and how they do things. So we've been able to get the word out to the 3 school districts that make up Elmira Heights, and Horseheads. We've had pretty good turnout that way. That's probably our biggest outreach, but we've done things like that. We have at different points we've been a part of, like, the summer food program, which is something that has been identified in Elmira, that once kids don't go to school during the summer months, some kids struggle to get food because a lot of kids are eating at school. And so I've been a part of that task force, and the church has been a part of dealing with that and trying to help meet that need in different ways. We've done different things with the community, as far as we partnered with one of the movie theaters, and we showed a movie called Like Arrows, which is the lead into a parenting small group. And so we did that for free for the community. And then that was followed up with, you could sign up for a free 8-week parenting class. And so the church hosted a free parenting class for the community, just again, trying to figure out, okay, what would be helpful for the community. I think there's a lot of parents are overwhelmed with parenting. And so just trying to give them some tools, trying to give them some things that can help in their everyday life. And so those are a few things, just trying to, Vacation Bible School. There's a lot of churches that do that. We've done that. We've done Easter sunrise services and Easter services, trying to give people opportunities at different times to do things that our Easter sunrise is outside of town on a hill, and it's different than going to a church. So, just different things like that try to meet needs and try to let the community know we're here as a resource to you. Mm-hmm. And we want to partner with you. It's not that we just want you to come be a part of us. We want to be a part of you. And so that's kind of what drives our ministry philosophy.
Final fun question, 1 minute or less, talking with Justin Coffin of Southern Tier Church of Christ in Elmira, New York, from Oklahoma, has been in New York for a while now. I take it you're a sports fan. You just seem like a sports fan. Are you a sports fan?
I'm a sports fan.
All right.
Yep.
So now that you're in New York, is it Yankees or Mets, or are you a Texas Rangers because you were in Oklahoma, or is it college and OU Sooners all the way, or have I spoken nasty words in that last sentence? You have 1 minute to reply.
I am a Sooner fan through and through. I'm a weird pro fan because I like the San Francisco Giants for baseball. I like the San Francisco 49ers for football, and the Oklahoma City Thunder is the only local professional team that I like. But yeah, college is definitely the Sooners. People have tried to get me to convert to Syracuse, and it just hasn't happened. So
Boomer.
Sooner.
There you go. Justin Coffin, Southern Tier Church of Christ in Elmira, New York. Thank you for your time. You can tell the heart of a person, of a church, of a community. You are on display and have been for the last 30 minutes or so, Justin. Thanks for your heart, and continue the great work in Elmira and your community.
Well, thank you for the time, and I appreciate the work that you guys do at Family Life. It's been a huge encouragement to me and to our church to have the resources that you guys offer to this area. So thank you for all that you do.
You've been listening to episode 3 of The Calling, a Family Life original podcast. Be sure to check out all of Family Life's original podcasts, including Therese Talk, If That Makes Sense, The Parable Podcast, and Business by the Book. You can find them wherever you download content or at familylife.org. Family Life is a not-for-profit listener-supported ministry, relying on your generous support to make podcasts like this possible. Find out how you can get involved when you go to familylife.org.